But you were involved with your coaching setup, and I think it's fair to say you didn't always fit in with the establishment, even in a small place in the Isle of Man. Was that right? Did you feel that you didn't have the support sometimes from the powers that be?
No, not really. I think it was just it wasn't from the powers that be. I think really the clubs itself. I wasn't interested in that side of things. The athletes mattered, and they always did matter. And the success they got, if it was from a small help that I gave them, and I'd like to think that that's a job good.
Anyway, when you stopped coaching, you got involved with football. You back to your first love, shall we say?
Yes,
and
yes.
14 years, you tell me that you were involved with Russian
That's
United,
right.
one of
That's
the
right.
top Manx teams.
That's right. It was. I wouldn't. Yes, that was a lovely. It was a lovely time, and I got it. I told them straight from the beginning that I would only help them in the fitness side. I wouldn't dream of telling the likes of Gareth Jones, Neil Shimon and Eric Nelson how to play football, because they are legends in the Isle of Man. And so, but the fitness side, it was a challenge, but I enjoyed it. It was a good challenge. And then at the end of 14 years, I said to my wife, "That's enough. I've been in sport a long time then."
Let's indulge a little bit. Let's talk about some of your favourites. Who were the athletes who really inspired you to do what you did?
I was very fortunate of being around in the late 50s and 60s to very good middle distance athletes and a very good bunch of athletes in the team in the Great Britain setup. There was, and the likes of Basil Heatley, Ron Hill, just to name two. They were part of, I think they would agree possibly as well, they were part of a good team that was around at the time. And we all got on well together. There was never them and us. They just glad to move in with and do. Ron Hill was always a pack leader. He was always the leader. He'd always, I think, I can't remember how many people he'd actually persuaded. Somewhere in their hand luggage there'd be a pair of trainers and a vest and shorts. And if there was a breakdown on the plane or any delayed anywhere, we'd always find Ron, the leader of the pack, and off we'd go for a run.
And he still
does, and he probably does.
And he's due to visit the Isle of Man about 3 days from when we were talking.
Yes, yes. And he would, he's phenomenal, Ron.
And what about Basil Heatley?
Basil Heatley? He's a kind of athlete who he would probably be a little embarrassed me telling him, but I served my apprenticeship with Basil. He was always a few years older than me, and he belonged to a great club called Coventry Godiva Harriers, yes. And I was only a small club, Sparkhill Harriers. And I found it quite a privilege to even make the county. Not so much in the not in the track, of course, but the cross country. I found it quite. They always took the mick out of me because I was the only one possibly outside Coventry Godiva, where all the rest of the team was Coventry Godiva, and I found it quite good. And they there was just the banter and the friendship and.
The sport was very structured in those days, in that you competed for your club, you made the county team, you progressed through to the national team. Were they the best days? I mean, do you look now and do you wish you were part of the scene now when they're making a lot of money, or do you think athletics was better in those days? Which era would you rather have been in?
From the point of view of making money, you have to be in this era. but you have to be good. But in my era, it was just money never came into it at all, till possibly just before I retired. But the camaraderie in the 60s was just fantastic, really, all through the team. And today it's it's a business now. It's a sport, but you have your managers, you have your agents, and you have your...
And what about sport in the Isle of Man? I mean, we had an awards night last week when you see the list of award winners, you realise just how lucky we are to live on the Isle of Man. But perhaps athletics, we've got great performances by Keith Gerrard. We've got other up and coming athletes. But is there depth to the competition in the Isle of Man, or do you think we're bucking the trends that there is in the UK? Because in the UK, so many events are dominated by veterans these days, and it's not necessarily a healthy scene, is it? We need the youngsters. We need the 20-year-olds, the 25-year-olds.
You do need the youngsters. As for the Isle of Man, I mean, obviously you have to mention the cyclists, don't you? Cavendish and everybody. I can remember watching Cavendish and not knowing them, but watching them, being with Dr. Orsley's group round the sports centre. I can remember as a young person, and in a different sort. That's from my point of view. That's where I would say that they served their apprenticeship. Really, they served their young days and enjoyed and learned how to ride the bike, which is proof of what they do now. How good they do it.
But would you agree it's creating that pyramid structure where you get a lot of youngsters, some of them carry through and some of them reach the top?
It's a tough sport. It's any sport now is tough at the top.
Yes.
And it's you can have the best coach in the world and the best advisors in the world, but if the athlete doesn't give 100%, then you're not going to make it to the top, you know. Like for instance, the English runners now go abroad for altitude training, you know, just to try, I think, and get on terms with the Africans, the African nations. But it obviously helps, but it still doesn't give you the same level as what the South Africans, the Africans they're born at altitude, so
yes.
It's different for them. It's easier for them than for us sea level athletes to go to altitude. You can only get so much advantage, so much help from it. Right, that's what I think. So anyway, I think it goes without saying that.
If one of your grandchildren or some youngster you were talking to said, I've got this opportunity to work in business, or I've got an opportunity to make a career in sport, would you still be happy to lead them into sport?
I'm a very proud Murray. I'm a very proud granddad. I really am, because I'll just bore you with my grandchildren's achievements up to now, and I really am. My eldest grandson Jonathan, he plays for Colby, and he enjoys his football tremendously. Rachel has come through university and as a sports therapist, and now she's sports therapist for the Isle of Man football senior squad. And coming down a little bit, then you have my middle daughter Andrea's children. Ryan he's come through the School of Excellence of Football right from when he was really tiny to now under 18s, and he's captain the Ireland squad as well. So he's come through, and Alexandra, I don't know what to say about her. I'm proud of them all, but this little one, she perseveres a little, not unlike myself really. She does gymnastics, and a couple of weeks ago she just became Isle of Man champion for her age, and she does not the parallel, the beam. Don't know the correct pronunciation of it, and she frightens me to death on that. But she perseveres. She says, look, Grandad, I've got sore hands, I've got a sore back, but she does it, and superb. And of course, Lisa's children, they're only young, they're only 3, and just over 1. But
so you can see the good that
I can see the good that that they enjoy doing. Yes,
whether you follow it as a career or whether it's just part of your life,
whether it's just
you'll always
absolutely
be a sportsman.
Absolutely, and I love it. I love it. And if they just do sport, and she actually told me yesterday that I said she said she's also a very good dancer, and she said, I'm going to try and do both. You know, if she goes to university, which she said she'd like to go to, and Ryan has passed the exams to go to American Sports University. So, you know, it's never been pushed onto them. They just wanted to do it. And
it has to come from within yourself.
It does indeed. It does indeed, because you get nothing out that you don't put in. You know?
And you must have, you know, going back all those years, you must have been very determined to push yourself to be what you were, the Olympic silver medalist.
Thank you very much for that, Maurice. Yes, yes, it was. I just loved doing it. I really did love doing the sport, and